in this video the benefits of holding multiple driver's licenses from different countries. In 2025, with global mobility surging due to remote work, dual citizenship programs, and easier international relocations, more people are seeking the value in this setup. I'll break down the current facts, legal considerations, and practical examples, focusing on how it enhances your life to have multiple driver's licenses from different countries, because I guarantee there's a few things here that most people haven't thought of. Until you have 4 or 5, 6 driver's licenses like I do, you don't realize all the benefits that it has. And by the way, this is about legally obtaining and using licenses through residency, citizenship, or reciprocity agreements. So always check local regulations, yada, yada. So first, let's clarify what we mean by multiple driver's licenses. These are official permits issued by government authorities in different countries, allowing you to operate vehicles there. You can hold them if you have legitimate ties like residency or citizenship in those places. For example, under reciprocity agreements updated in 2025, countries like the US have deals with nations like Canada, France, Germany, South Korea, etc. In US states like Indiana, if you hold an active license from one of these countries or one expired less than 3 years, you can exchange it for a local license by passing only a written knowledge or vision test sometimes, skipping the full driving skills exam. This process, often called homologation or homologar in Spanish, but homologation, I guess you would say, means your foreign license is recognized and converted into a local one without starting from scratch, saving you time and bureaucratic hassle and a huge amount of money. For example, a European license these days costs well over €1,000. Ask any European, they know this. In some countries, it's over $2,000-3,000. It's a huge hassle. So one thing you can do is if you had a driver's license from the US or certain Latin American countries like Brazil, Mexico, Paraguay, you can exchange those licenses for the European license, saving yourself thousands of dollars. Another major benefit is enhanced international mobility and convenience when traveling or relocating. With a single license, you're often limited to short-term driving abroad, typically 3 to 12 months before needing an IDP, an international driving permit, or being forced to do a local license exchange. Holding multiple licenses lets you drive seamlessly in more places without constant paperwork. For instance, a US citizen with a Canadian license can drive in Canada indefinitely without restrictions, and vice versa, due to bilateral agreements. But by all means, get licenses from both Canada and the US if you can, but you could actually get away with just having one, which a lot of people do. The USMCA has a trade agreement to support easy license recognition between the US, Canada, and Mexico, meaning your US license is valid in Mexico as well. But a Mexican driver's license gives you even more benefits for long-term driving if you become a permanent resident or citizen of Mexico. And by the way, in MyLatinLife, we help people do this. We're an immigration consulting firm. We help people get residency and driver's licenses and bank accounts and everything you might need as part of relocating to a country or internationalizing to a certain country. So we help a lot of people get licenses from all different countries around the world. In countries like Spain, you can convert your US or Canadian license to that Spanish license, which will save you thousands of dollars and a huge amount of hassle, and certain Latin American licenses are recognized as well. This is a game changer for frequent travelers. Picture yourself as a digital nomad or expat, splitting time between Europe and the Americas or the Caribbean. In the European Union, you can only hold one EU license at a time. But if you have a non-EU license, like from the US, alongside, say, an EU one from, say, Germany, you can use the US license for short visits to non-EU countries without exchanging. You can use the one that's the most beneficial, and I would argue use the one that has the least overlap, where the systems don't overlap, so there's no chance of getting demerit points or something like that. If you are a European citizen and you can only have one EU license, well, what's been popular for a while now is getting another license from Georgia or Armenia or Montenegro or Serbia or one of these countries nearby but outside the EU. Latin America works well in this regard as well. We help people get residency in Latin America, and then it's very easy to get a driver's license in these countries. And often it's easier to get the motorcycle license as well. So if you want to drive a motorcycle, and that creates even more bureaucracy, which I know it's expensive to get in a place like Canada versus the US, where it could be, less than $50. And then in Canada, it's over $1,000 to get your motorcycle license. Well, you can get your motorcycle license from a place like Mexico or Paraguay or wherever you get residency, and then you can exchange that back oftentimes for a Canadian license or a European license or wherever you're looking to internationalize next. This benefit skips the bureaucracy, which is huge, and it really speaks to one of the benefits of having multiple driver's licenses. Another key advantage is having a backup in case of loss, suspension, or expiration. If your primary license is suspended in one country, say for speeding tickets, a license from another country can let you drive legally elsewhere as long as you're not violating residency rules. For example, in 2025, US states like California allow foreign licenses for visitors. So if your US license is suspended, but you have a valid Australian one or whatever, you could use it temporarily while resolving the issue, essentially serving as a backup driver's license, provided you declare, suspensions internationally under the 1968 Vienna Convention on Road Traffic, which has been ratified by over 100 countries. So that's something to keep in mind. There's a convention that ensures licenses are recognized, but also requires reporting restrictions. And the homologation process we talked about makes this easier, exchanging your license in a new country before issues arise, and ensure that you have a valid permit without navigating the full licensing processes. If your US license expires while abroad, a local license keeps you mobile without waiting weeks for renewals. And often the US is quite ahead of things where you can renew your license online. You can renew it from abroad. So I've done this. I've had it renewed abroad. I've had it shipped to me. So you don't even have to go to the US to renew your license. So you might as well be somewhere else around the world picking up more driver's licenses. Multiple driver's license can also serve as reliable identification, which is critical in a world with frequent ID checks and concerns about theft. As of May 7th, 2025, the US Real ID Act requires compliant state IDs for domestic flights, but a foreign license can act as a secondary ID. Internationally, licenses from countries like Canada or the UK are accepted in over 150 nations as photo ID, per updates to the 1949 Geneva Convention. This helps with banking, apartment rentals, or voting as a dual citizen. For example, a US-Italian dual citizen can use an Italian license to access EU services without always carrying a passport. Homologation enhances this. Exchanging your license ensures it's recognized as a valid ID locally, avoiding issues with foreign formats. The downside is that in some countries they require official translations alongside your foreign license, adding a step. So that's something to keep in mind, is you can get a official, notarized, or even apostilled translation of your driver's license, and that's only going to strengthen the validity of that document. For families or couples with international ties, multiple licenses simplifies shared driving. You can alternate driving on international trips without worrying about permit validity. A lot of insurance agreements recognize international licenses as well, but you're going to want to check that specifically with your insurance provider for your vehicle. Health and safety is another benefit. Countries with stricter medical requirements, like the UK's 10-year renewals, ensure regular health checks. So holding licenses from other places ensures compliance across borders, or another way to look at it is you could get around the health checks if you have multiple driver's licenses. So, the ultimate question is, how do you legally obtain multiple licenses? Well, one of the big ones we try to teach people is to get it through residency, where you get the right to legally live in a foreign country. Maybe you're actually living there 183 plus days a year, and you're applying for a driver's license as a legal resident of that country. If we get you residency in Mexico, we can get you a Mexican driver's license. If we get you residency in Brazil or Paraguay, we can get you driver's licenses down there. So, this is one of the most common paths to quickly rack up a number of different driver's licenses is when you have legal residency in 3, 4, 5 different countries, and then you have a license from each of those countries where you're a legal resident. Dual citizenship is another ideal angle as well. If you have multiple passports, get a driver's license from every country where you hold a passport. If you have UK and Canadian citizenship, get driver's licenses from both countries. There may be even some situations where you can get a driver's license while you're on a tourist visa or while you're not, a tax resident, you're not legally a resident in a country. There still are some scenarios where it may be possible to get a driver's license. Historically, Mexico has occasionally given driver's licenses to foreigners. And I'm sure there's other countries that maybe you guys can mention in the comments if you want to share some secret intel. But those are typically the three categories. Is you're going to need residency, you're going to need citizenship, or you're going to need to get really lucky on a tourist visa and have some kind of legitimate reason why you need a driver's license in a country where you're not a resident or a citizen. In summary, holding multiple driver's licenses through legal channels offers mobility, backup options, professional advantages, ID utility, and simplified family travel in 2025. Remember to review reciprocal agreements to skip bureaucratic hurdles, homologate your license, exchange your license instead of starting from zero. Whether you're moving to Canada or from Canada, to Europe, escaping Europe, Latin America, having multiple driver's licenses is a practical tool for global living. Share your experiences in the comments below. If you'd like to get the process started of obtaining multiple driver's licenses, maybe multiple residencies, there's a link in the description where you can book a call with us and get the process started. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next video.